Call this meeting to order. To the left there, Bob.
Yes, thank you.
Not a lot of things, just get back from the Roma conference. There was a number of counselors there. Thank you for everybody that showed up. So, I think it went well. They certainly wanted to talk to Brad. They wanted more information from Brad. I think they were genuinely surprised about 5 acres of land being offered. That was certainly the take that I had on the conversation anyways. Of course, there was no, there's never any commitment in a meeting like that one way or the other. But having said that, I was certainly left with the impression that he wanted the information because he genuinely wanted to know if there was something there to be had. So Brad will follow up with them. There were a couple other really good sessions. I had attended one early on Sunday about trying to fix some of the housing crisis. And it's not that they had the exact answer of what to do, but there were some neat things that that they come up with, and they certainly seem to be having some good success up in Bruce County. Claire Dodds, who is the former planner for Huron East, is now the commissioner in Bruce County for housing, and she did a great job in her presentation. I got to talk to her a bit before it. That was good. And then actually Bob and I, we when was that, Tuesday afternoon, Bob? We attended the one about alternate storage systems. And there's no doubt batteries were the main theme of the whole thing. There was certainly some information there that the public will need to be made aware of. I think they said right now they produce 42 megawatts of power in the province. And by 2050, it was expected to be 88, so more than double what it is now. And even the amount of expansion that they're talking about doing now is not going to get anywhere close to what's actually needed. Surprising part was electric cars were not the big drain on the system. They think that there's other things that are going to be the bigger drain. Now, there were some people that had some comments that spoke positive. There were people that were kind of middle of the road. There was one gentleman up at the front who was one of the speakers. Was it Enbridge that they had done, Bob? Yeah, so Enbridge had worked with them. Their municipality didn't actually get anything out of it, and they said they wish they had a lot more information from the start, because there was a lot of things that would have been beneficial to the township if they had known. But I did not get the impression that he was opposed to the fact that they had done it. There was one gentleman that got up, and I could have swore he was at the Agriplex the night we because they had never done anything, and boy, he had no intentions of ever letting it happen. That's all there was to it. So there was the entire gamut in the room.
It wasn't changing his mind. Eh?
No, not at all.
Be interesting to see how much IESO spends on propaganda though, Mr. Mayor, because there was I thought a fair bit of that talking to them at the trade show and at a couple of presentations they made.
And that could very well be the one gentleman that you were talking to, Bob, when I came to the table, Stephen, I think his name was.
Yeah.
So I didn't catch where he was from or anything.
Meaford.
Okay. The one thing that seemed to be hanging out there was battery technology, and the battery technology every month seems to be changing, and to the point where I've seen reports where they're not even going to use lithium batteries anymore. So the batteries they're using are not ones that can catch on fire. They're almost like an Edison battery, which is a nickel iron, I think.
Silver, yeah.
Pardon me?
A lot of silver in them, it said too.
Is there? Okay, yeah, but I've seen some reports about it where, and these batteries aren't good for anything else other than stationary situations because they're very cheap to make, but they're very, very heavy. But you can charge them forever, like every day for 10 years, and the batteries don't deteriorate, but they're useless in your cell phone. So there's a lot of things changing, and the bottom line is until they're willing to give good answers to the public, I don't think they're going to get a lot of buy-in at this point. We would like to acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the neutral peoples. Can I get a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Morrison. We would like to acknowledge, that the agenda for the regular meeting of council dated January 23rd, 2024 be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any disclosure of inherent interest from any member of council this evening? Seeing none. Any minutes of the previous meetings, mover and seconder, Councillor Deal, Councillor Wilby, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the following council meeting minutes as circulated. That's the regular meeting of January 9th, 2024. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All those in favor? And motion carries. Consent agenda. Are there any requests to remove any items from the consent agenda at this time? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to go through you to Barry if I could, and sorry to put him on the spot, but I just want his take on 6.1.
Association of Ontario Road Supervisors are embarking on trying to get, how would you say, more youth involved with the public works sector as coming into the workforce, semi-trained or trained, similar to the apprenticeship programs
Okay.
out there, and they approached Fanshawe College on that particular item. And there seems to be a willingness there, and basically what this is asking through our association, that council supports the initiative of the Ontario Road Supervisors in trying to bring the skilled people to our shops.
You think it would be worthwhile, wouldn't you? I mean, when I read through it, I thought it would, but I just wanted your impression of it.
I would think it's a good thing. I think it at least gives the people coming out of high school an option. Or if there's the apprenticeship program, we'll see how that's structured. Maybe you have to have so many hours before you can maybe get to the course, but this is the initial stages of initiating the process.
Good, okay. Well, I'd like to pull that, and I would like to.
Endorse that?
Yes.
Okay, so moved by the deputy mayor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Deal? All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other item that anybody would like to pull for discussion, Councillor Sharkran?
Yeah, I would just like to, 6.5, the pledge procedure. I just want to thank you for the report, because I do feel a lot better that we have our finger on the pulse now that policy is in place. So it's a good report.
Yeah, it was nice to see that there was almost enough extra pledges that come in for donations the last year to make up for what was at least currently the shortfall. Yeah, last year. Councillor Morrison.
6.6, just a question on that one. Through you to the CEO, it says that a full audit is scheduled to take place on the fire communication system, as well as the Seaforth fire siren system.
Correct.
If both Brussels and Seaforth have the same communication issue with the siren, are both going to be looked at in that same audit, or are we only looking at the one?
My understanding is, and the fire chief is on the Zoom link here if he wants to correct me, but my understanding is that we're certainly looking at both. Whether or not the communication issue is the same for both, I can't answer that until we actually do the audit, but yes.
If I can follow up on that, Ken, in the report, you talked about the fact that it was always the fire siren in the past that notified firemen to get to the fire hall that their services were needed. But you talk about the fact that, you know, they all have radios now, other ways of being contacted, whether it's a beeper or whatever. Is there an actual need for a siren anymore other than nostalgics for the town?
That's a good question. So I'd say operationally, there's no necessarily need to know. It doesn't notify the firefighters anymore, so that need is gone. From the aspect of the firefighters feel that it does help with traffic and response to the hall is what I've been told. I don't have that specific information. That's their feelings of the need for it. So it's a yes and a no, I guess. Not a clear answer.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The constant comments that I get, and I Councillor Chartrand and Councillor McGrath will agree with this, that the firemen really like it, so that people know that they're getting out to the fire hall as quick as they can and what that green light is for. It's public knowledge, public help, or not help, but Public getting out of the way when they see them coming, et cetera.
That's
I think
it.
it's a safety issue.
The big comment that I get is that when the public hears the sirens, they're watching now for the fire department to get there, so they get out of the way and they're paying more attention.
Okay. Okay.
That's the same feeling that all the firefighters had that I've talked to as well.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Now, we've heard this before about this audit. So how long will it take, and will we have an answer, within the,
Winter.
Go ahead, Kent, you could probably answer that. You got it rescheduled.
Yeah, so we got scheduled. The audit should take approximately 2 days is what they've said it'll take. And then I don't anticipate it being long until they get us a report back on the status of our systems and then being able to bring that back to council with more information.
so in this audit, will you find out what it is you need to fix it?
That's,
They'll spell that out?
yeah, that's a plan, is to bring back options of how it would be reinstated, yes.
If there is nothing else to be pulled from from this portion, can I get a mover and a seconder to accept everything else, Councilor Fisher and Councilor Steffler? And that the consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.6 be received for information and has not already been dealt with. All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. I have nothing under public meetings, hearings, and delegations. Planning down to municipal drains. 9.1 improvement request, Holland Anderson Municipal. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Move by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Wilby. The Council of the Municipality of Huron East accept the section 78 request for a municipal drain improvement by John Huther. Is that correct? Peter, Lot 2, Concession 12, Gray, for the Holland Anderson Municipal Drain, and the council instruct Headway Engineering to prepare a report 30 days after notification to the conservation authorities. Any comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor? And carried. Reports and recommendations of municipal officers, and I will go to the CAO for request to purchase unopened allowance.
Yeah, I won't go through too much of the report, but council may or may not be aware, there's a section of what I would call the old railway line that ran through Brussels at one point in time. On the west side of Turnberry that we own. It's certainly not serving any purpose to the municipality. There's been a request by an adjacent landowner to purchase it. In accordance with our policy, I consulted with staff, including our Director of Public Works. Staff have no concerns other than there is a section of servicing that runs sort of dissects that allowance. So we can only sell what I would call the east portion of that section of that allowance. We would probably retain the westerly portion for two purposes. One, as a buffer to the sewage treatment plant, and then as well for the servicing that crosses that sort of unopened load allowance at the back of the McDonald's property there. Other than that, any questions council have, I'm more than happy to answer.
Councilor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to Brad. $3,400, $3,500, that's what I heard.
It's more than nine.
Anyway, that's
34,000.
that's what I meant, 1,000, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good sized chunk then, it's over an acre?
Yeah, it's almost, it's an acre, 1.7 acres or something like that, I think I measured.
Okay, then what are we keeping, the other?
Yeah,
Acre or so?
it'd be like it's not, I would say it's maybe the other 40% of it we're keeping. So the first 60% of it we would consider disposing. We'll have to give notification to the utilities like Hydro One, Festival Hydro, Union Gas, as well as the adjacent property owners in case there's any issues. So that process happened first. Once that's been complete, then we go through the process of actually reaching out to adjacent landowners to see if they have any interest in acquiring it. And usually what we do when we have adjacent landowners, we try to sort of split the parcel up if they're both interested.
Okay.
The
purchasers are required to cover the cost of survey, legal fees, et cetera. So in addition to land cost.
Does that money go into parkland or where's that going?
The policy now is just to a general reserve as opposed to parkland. I think it used to say parkland, but we changed that just to our reserves.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Brad. Brad, so are you explaining that on our, in our agenda, there is that blue piece of land outlined there?
That's the entire parcel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now when you're talking about halving that, or
Yeah.
you said the eastern side of it?
Yeah, so the eastern portion, so the piece that runs from Turnberry Street. And if you're looking at figure 1, if you go from the Turnberry Street, you'll see that road allowance where the sewage treatment plant is, that runs down through there. Just to that point, because there's servicing that runs out. What is that street now? I can't remember.
Stratton, is it?
Yeah, Stratton goes north south, picking the one down below. So yeah, so there's a servicing that runs out through there. North and south, kind of right in front of the sewage treatment plant.
Okay,
It's on the second figure there, you can kind of see where it's running at the back of the McDonald's property. McDonald's hardware property,
right,
so it'll be the easterly portion of that parcel we can dispose of, but we'll keep the westerly piece out towards the Morris Turnberry boundary.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Deal.
Thank you. To Barry, will that cut back on your parking area there by the looks of things? Or does it cut into the? It just looks like it cuts off where the bins and stuff are sitting there in
Yeah, it does look like,
in
it
your yard.
looks like it does cut into it a bit.
We might actually try to retain a portion of that around our building. So as part of that process. The adjacent landowner. I guess.
I
Take Barry.
I think what goes on there is, once it gets, public, like, everybody gets to half, whether they want half or not, once it gets to that certain stage. And I think that's where we're headed, is we'll retain our half of that road allowance for that section.
Once it gets to that point.
Good point, we'll make sure
Well, it
that,
just looks like it's pretty tight to the buildings there.
if we can get rid of the bins too, that'd be all right.
Then where are you gonna park? Thank you.
Did I get a mover and a seconder? Can I get a mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Deal and Deputy Mayor? That the Council of the Municipality of Huron East declare the unopened road allowance legally described as concession 5, part lot 30, Morris Turnberry, as registered plan 22R-3503, part 1 surplus, and proceed with the process of issuing notices of the declaration of surplus and the intent to dispose of the lands. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Second one there as well, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So the second one is, there's some unopened road allowances on the north side of, Beach Street, probably part of an old plan of subdivision, I suppose, at one point in time. And so the property is owned by the Ms. Terpstra. Ms. Terpstra is looking at trying to, sell the land at some point in time. But in that process, she's retained some planners to assist her in looking at the property. They'd like to kind of clean it up a little bit in terms of all the various road allowances that go through there. Morris Turnberry Council has reviewed the same request for their portion. And they have no concerns, subject to, of course, Huron East agreeing as well. I just wanted to let you know that. And then I did consult with our Director of Public Works, and we have no needs or purpose for those road allowances as they exist right now. Servicing right now, if and when the property was ever developed, it's zoned for industrial land. If it ever got developed, the servicing would feed off of Beach Street at some point in time. There's not existing water service lines there per se, but that's how it will be fed. I'd be happy to answer any other question council may have.
Are there any questions? Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I just wanted some clarification on the background section of the report. It indicates that a parcel noted in attachment 1, the yellow parcel, has already been declared surplus. Is that the, in working with another property owner, is that where the old train station is? Is
Yeah,
that,
that's the Brussels Optimus property, and so we're in the process, so council
Okay.
already considered that parcel a surplus.
okay,
And we're in the process of transferring it to them.
okay, great, thank you.
Hey, can I get, oh, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to put, I think I heard what I heard. I just want to verify that. Through you to the CEO, Brad, so you're saying that that is zoned industrial, it's not residential, so the road allowances are of no value to us, but we still own them at this point here.
We do still own them at this point.
And
The one purple one, I believe, was closed up,
Okay.
but not disposed of. Blue,
Yeah.
it's still open, it's still our designated as an unopened road allowance.
Okay.
But we still own it. And the rest of them, the red, are owned by Morris Turnberry. The orange strip, Morris Turnberry is gonna, keep at this point in time, because there's a whole bunch of encroachments on that piece from the property owners,
Oh,
Turnberry.
a long-term very like that. So I guess if I could follow up, Mr. Mayor, so with the sewage plant back there, there's never a chance that we might end up having to expand in this property at all?
Yeah, but it's a good question. If you actually look at the sewage treatment plan on that, little. Let's see if I can find a better picture. And in terms of their figure, you can see the sewage treatment plan. The
Yeah,
lands that are actually Morris Turnberry, the municipality of Morris Turnberry, but they're owned by us. All those lands north of us are all owned by the municipality here in East. So there's lots of area there for us to expand. for a sewage
Okay.
treatment plant.
right, not onto this piece of
Not
property
onto this
here.
piece of parcel.
Councilor Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Brad, please, so going forward, if this is, Ms. Terpstra gets everything gathered together and as she wishes and sells, this wouldn't impede anything from happening if Morris Turnberry wanted to develop. Or if more, it wouldn't stop Morris Turnberry from doing anything in that area, like buying water and sewer lines from us or that kind of thing,
Well,
or accessing.
like the land is contiguous, so the land kind of straddles the municipal boundary. So whoever buys that parcel would ultimately have to deal with both municipalities in terms of its development. In terms of servicing, yes, they would have to work with the municipality of Huron East in terms of accessing servicing and whatever that might look like from a boundary situation, depending upon how it develops. My inclination would be that if I was to buy that property as a developer, an industrial developer, I would probably develop the south portion first and then just maybe potentially add on at this time and on, but that would be the easiest and quickest to do from a servicing standpoint. But when they brought their development to us, both from a planning perspective as well as from a public works and municipality here in East, we'd want to make sure that they're considering it as to how they would service the entire parcel through that process and through that development.
But this, again, this won't impede anything happening to the Morris Turnberry part.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
And just a little more history with that, Bob. When Joe Seelig was mayor,
That's what I wondered, if that was
and
the parcel. Yeah.
myself and Paul Gowing, we walked up and down that strip quite a few times, and there was talk that we were going to do something.
Mhm.
And I think that was shortly after all the industrial land had got sold on the Brussels side. And there was thought that, maybe this is something that could get expanded into. And we had even worked out what I thought was a reasonable deal, for Morris Turnberry, and then once we had all that lined up, just nothing ever happened again.
Yeah, I remember that first term,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, mover to seconder. Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Wilby. That the council of the municipality of Huron East declare the unopened road allowance legally described as PIN 41338-0180 LT Lane Plan 192 Brussels as closed by R178525, abutting lots 352 and 353, Plan 92, and PIN number 41338-0122 LT Stretton. Is that supposed to be street? Street, okay. Plan 192 Brussels north of Beach Street. Surplus and proceed with the process of issuing notices of the declaration of surplus and the intent to dispose of the lands. All those in favor? And motion carries. Who's doing the roof? Actually, it's good news.
Very good news. So, this is for the, replacement of the Seaforth Arena roof. So, this is a recommendation that the council accept the tender, from Davil Construction, Company for the amount of 1.72 million, for the roof. We obtained, approximately with the Garland, that was the organization that we had been receiving consultation from with about this whole roof project. And through them, they had obtained 9 contractors for tender. And out of that, 5 had been submitted, with a total, 4 of them had attended and submitted the tenders. So, yeah, Davin was one of the most reasonable priced ones. And also recommended by Garland Canada Corporate. They had done work with them before and they were very happy with their work that they do. And that, it provides, it was interesting, I was reading some of the things, it's a 30-year warranty on the roof. So, it does come under what we budgeted. So, and including in that, we would have a contingency of 10%. So,
Lisa, the one thing that certainly jumps out is, $1 million less than the highest person. It's still 200,000 less than everybody else. Was there any justification for that, or just other people are busy, or?
I'm not really sure. There was all, I think if you look at, how many days it took to complete the project, so the more expensive it got, the faster the work was completed. So I think that was part of the contributing factors. I'm guessing that they maybe have, you know, more people to come and complete the job. And I'm not really much on the equipment.
Councilor Stepfer?
Yeah, couple things. Did they say when they could initiate the?
Yeah, they're looking at wanting to start, in April, so there's no impact on our service delivery for ice time, as well as that they're estimating it to be done within 90 days. So then that won't impact on our fall ice either.
And so we still have an older arena, in there. And in our operating budget from last year, there were other large projects, if you will, to come on board in later years, refrigerant, cement. Is it still practical? If you're looking at like between now and 2030 of having, and I'm just looking at numbers, probably 3 or 4 million of improvements.
That's a good question. Right off the fly, I would say we just had those renovations, the change rooms, the dressing rooms are all relatively new. And Garland has provided with their consultation, they didn't indicate anywhere that it wasn't worth the while with it when in the report that they provided us. And that they gave us the different options and this was actually the best option to do over all of the other different options of the different types of roofs to replace, so.
Okay. No, I'd just be concerned that we're gonna keep putting in 1.1, 1.2, and then when no floor, no boards and everything comes into an old building. And we've got the same amount invested if we put enough money away till 2030 and started now budgeting for it. That'd be my only concern. Push down an older arena.
Go ahead.
Certainly in terms of sort of the capital plan, down the road, we will be looking at the cooling system having to be replaced. But that's part of any arena. I mean, you've invested as a council and as a municipality, you've invested a lot of money in that building in terms of its addition and its you know, the building itself and kind of the expansions you've done fairly recently, I mean, that's just part of that process, and I'm sure even though you've just done an upgrade to the Brussels community center, at some point in time, you'll probably have to look at that floor and cooling system too as well. It's just part of owning an arena, right? It's that
Nice.
process. The value is that we're starting to build reserves, put money away so that those repairs, when they come due, they're not a shock or a huge drain, right? So we're planning for it now.
I understand. Yeah, good.
Councillor Chartrain, you had your hand up.
Yeah, same question. I want to know when they could start, so.
Can I get a mover and a seconder to accept this tender? Councillor Chartrain, second by Councillor Deal, that the council of the municipality of Huron East award the Seaforth and District Community Center roof replacement to Danville Construction Company for the amount of $1,172,000 plus the HST. Any final comments or questions? All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. We're doing fees and charges.
Mayor and Council. So today I'm presenting the fees and charges bylaw for 2024. I just want to let you know that this was a really good collaborative effort between department heads, and there was a lot of good discussion, and we all learned a lot. I've noted the changes, and if you have questions on specific changes, I'd be happy to answer them. I believe you'll notice the biggest change is recreation, as Lisa had reported at last council that she was going to make some major changes to that. So that's our first time seeing how that looks, and I hope it looks good because I.
Any questions of council for Stacy on this? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, I noticed, or I listened, didn't notice, some of the hookup fees, were 2,500 and two were 3,000. What's the discrepancy, please, the difference?
The hookup fees, is that?
That's your water and sanitary connection fees. They're standard. They haven't increased or decreased in this fees bylaw. That's part of your water and sewer 5-year capital or 5-year financial plan.
But there was two that were 3,000, Mr. Mills, and all the rest were 2,500. Why were the two that were 3,000?
One is 2,500 for water and 3,000 is for sanitary. You say there's a third one?
No, I mean, I was listening to it, and it's sometimes not easy to follow. I didn't realize that we charged 3,000 for sanitary. I thought it was 2,500 for both.
No, it's 2,500 for sanitary, or I could have them backwards. 2,500 and 3,000 for the services for each single family dwelling. So if you have a semi,
5,500.
you're right. Or,
No, 5,500 for what, for a single?
yes,
Okay,
and if you have a semi, it's
it's
11,000.
11, okay. And then, if I may, Mr. Mayor, are these, some of those fees I thought were quite high. Is this a revenue stream for us, or is it a cost recovery?
It's a cost recovery.
All of them are cost recovery. Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's how that is.
Councillor Deal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, could you explain the convenience fee?
Sure. So that's with the 3.5%.
Yeah.
3.75%. So, we do have an option for ratepayers to pay for fees online with a credit card. And when they pay for fees online with a credit card, there's an additional, that's what this is, 3.75% we add because we get charged from the credit card companies to process these,
Okay.
and it's to recover that fee.
So direct e-transfer type thing doesn't.
That's correct. This
Okay.
is strictly credit.
Okay.
Or the transactions online, and I think it prompts them, when it goes through that's gonna be added to their.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Can I get a mover and a seconder for these, please? Councillor Stepler, Councillor Wilby, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the proposed fees and charges for 2024, and that council consider the bylaw to set the fees and charges for 2024. All those in favor? And motion carries. And roadside mowing. Go ahead, Barry.
I was asked to bring a report back on the financial impact on roadside mowing compared to the last year's lowest tender. And basically what we're finding is that our last tender of 56,000, Mr. McGregor is retired from the industry as far as roadside mowing. We've had him for the last a couple of contracts, but he is well over 80 now, and he's not going to do it anymore. And our next lowest tender was 116,000. We have approached other municipalities as to what their results of the tendering process is, and it's quite similar. They're starting to rethink how they're going to deliver the program as well. I know it's Morris Turnberry still going to go back with the tender, but I think the other ones are starting to look the other way. So when we did our comparison on the costing of it on page 2, basically what we have is the grass cutting contract of last year's 2023, no doubt in 2024 it would go up. Winter maintenance, we're going to bring in a winter maintenance component to it to offset the winter problems we have with employees so that we could have somebody full-time picking up the roadside mowing, offsetting the part-time, full-time employee in the winter time. And then also doing in between additional duties, which most likely would be mostly tree cutting and any additional services that we might need. So basically, here's the breakdown, and on page 2, so the contract versus the winter maintenance labor. And Stacy put the costing together, so it's factual numbers. It's not me guessing at numbers anymore. We have the tractor rental, we did a fuel component to it, and the equipment maintenance, and we come up with base of 118,000. We did add the winter maintenance labor into the grass cutting contract to try and compare apples to apples. If you take it out of one, you take it out of the other, and it's kind of relative no matter how you look at it. So the bottom line is 118 versus 144,000. The only component to this is the disc mower that's at 25,000. That's going to be a capital item that you buy one time. You don't, our budget doesn't allow us to do cost averaging over a 3-year period because we're right by it this year, and that's how we buy our equipment. So it's a one-time upfront cost. So your true savings is year 2 and 3, but if you do the average, it's an average of about $17,000 a year if you take that more over the 3-year period versus. So basically, the end result is there is a savings of going to in-house versus the contract price of 116,000. We get to utilize the full-time position, bring in the roadside mowing in-house, and eliminates our problem every year we come to the trying to hire somebody for the winter. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions of council this time? Yes, there will be.
I was just wondering, so when we have it in-house, does that mean they might do it more often?
Well, I would have control on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that is the question that we tend to get in the kill.
I would have to say yes, the season might run a little longer. You might get a little bit, if we see something going up around stop signs, there's no reason why we can't send them out. It was, I think, we had, or Mr. Byerman back, it was an employee of ours. He had broke his arm, so we set up the mower back then. And we had him out on the mower quite often that summer, but it was only one season that we did that. Because the equipment was not maybe in the best condition back then.
Well, I think it's a great idea to employ the person and then also have them do the winter maintenance, and then you don't have to look for somebody, and it's a great idea.
If I could, not only that is, you gotta remember, we're not gonna be cutting to the fence line. The ditches are not going to need different equipment to that. The days of Carl Gower are gone. Some of the older councilors might remember that, where he'd drive out in the field, do it backwards, and he did, that's the old days. So we're not gonna get to the fence line with this type of equipment, especially equipment, which will drive the cost up even more. And if you were to go out and tender that, that would drive the cost even up more because they have to do the specialty equipment as well.
It'd be cheaper to pay for the ditch. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Barry. Barry, what's the average length of life for one of these mowers?
We're anticipating 3 years. And when we say 3 years, we could, that's why this kind of ends in the 3-year cycle. So in the third year, we'd have that capital purchase again, and cost average over the next 3 years. So that might be, how would I say, generous, maybe generous in saying it might get another 2 years out of it.
Right.
I don't think you want to get into the stage where we have been in the last, I want to say back 10 years ago, where we'd have this equipment that would work for an hour and you'd fix it for 2 hours, like the old stone bits.
Yes, yeah, no, well, and also too, it's not real easy in machinery, this type of cutting either. There's lots of hidden stones and stumps and things like that.
The only thing to that is with the tractor rental, that takes our capital, but it's a rental, so the repairs and maintenance on that piece of equipment is where that wear and tear is gonna fall on that, but it's not gonna be ours.
Just to follow up on that, then, when you're talking about roadside cutting, do you foresee you renting? Because I know one of the other municipalities have one of them, for lack of a better word, almost like industrial whippy snippy that fastens onto your road grader.
That'd be Morris Turnberry with the extended arm on it.
Yes,
That piece of equipment's, I think, worth $75,000.
I was just following up. So is that something though that you usually budget for some work to do with that? Because some of the side roads are getting thrown in pretty well.
So what we have is, basically every other year, we have, the compost piles that need to be, addressed. And that takes up, that capital. Then in the offsetting year, we have rented from Jade the same piece of equipment to do the similar job where it goes up and it starts shaving back the bush. And I think we rented it for a month. So we have done that in the past, and I think we've done it for 3 seasons now. So we gotta remember it's every other.
Right, right. Okay,
So we have, and I think last year we rented the Bobcat with we tried something different last year.
okay.
Up in the north, I believe it was.
As long as it's still on your vision that still needs to be done, so.
And that's why I mentioned we'd never get back to the fence line, and that's where that shrub starts to grow up, and it gets hard to nip that.
Right.
Get get it early, you can, then it doesn't get ahead of you.
Thank you.
Councilor McGrath.
I'm not in favor of this whatsoever, because I think, I like the fact that, now, in saying this also, I'm totally aware we would have to go back out to tender and see if we get more tenders. But I like the fact that I realize it doesn't address your winter issue, however, the grass cutting and the tractor and the equipment, everything, the brakes, or if it's gone, it's gone. My expense is gone. I'm done. I realize you can't control it as much, but, I'm not in favor, and if you put $10,000 a year for capital equipment, then you're not too far off what's costing to hire it out. Other than you haven't got to what, when you want to go out, but again, once that person is gone with the tractor and the mower and everything else, he blows his mower up, or bends it, or breaks it, or blows his tractor up, but I realize leasing, you're not responsible, however. Yeah, I'll be speaking against it, so I'm not in favor of it.
But just for clarification, you technically already have close to 10,000 a year in here for your capital purchase, correct? Because you've done the 25,000 over a 3-year term.
That's right.
It's still $26,000 saving.
And it's still $26,000 savings, even after putting the 10,000 a year into capital.
I can't believe that for a minute, but that's okay, that's me. Sorry.
Councilor Stepford.
Yeah, is there any, I know, insurance savings just by having it, that we have to insure the, tractor, we have to liability versus outsourcing? Is it substantial or is it minuscule?
I'm gonna say it's minuscule, because we'll be getting a certificate of insurance for the tractor, we'll have to do that. So if the tractor becomes liable for some reason, that's just a typical thing. I don't think there's any up costs to that, because I think that's normally what we do all the time.
It's the owner of the tractor's insurance that comes over and gets transferred to us when we're using it.
So it'll fall under our liability portion of it, because we have the operator, and we're paying the operator to do the work. Similar to our grader, you might say that we're in winter time.
Yep, no, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, can I get a mover and a second for the motion, please? Moved by Councillor Wilby, second by Councillor Newell. That the council of the municipality of Huron East authorize staff to proceed with establishing the roadside mowing program in-house and creating a full-time position for the purpose of the program, winter control and general operational maintenance. All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. Correspondence.
We just had a request from Brussels Minor Hall for a road closure on June 1st, so I have consulted with staff as well, that this wouldn't be a problem for that day. This is a regular request that comes in.
Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Newell, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the request from Brussels Minor Ball to close a portion of Sports Drive Brussels on June 1st, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the Brussels Minor Ball day. All those in favor? Motion carries. Nothing under unfinished, and down to councillor reports, and I'll go to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we got our county council last meeting. We started going through our budget. We've gone through about half of it now, just sort of high level. First, kind of high level looking, we could be looking at over a 9% increase in taxes. There was an increase of about 222 million in assessment alone in the county last year. So total assessment in the county now sits around $16 billion. There was almost a point of assessment and dollar wise raised just in the increase year over year. One of the interesting things to extra increase at the homes this year, just for one day, and that is leap year, there's $77,000 extra needed just for that one day alone to run them facilities. So it makes a difference in that. We were talking about a construction loan versus a loan for the wing and patrol yard. That's going to go ahead this year. Our health benefits are up roughly about 15%, because our reserves that they've been paying for health benefits out of is running a little low. So our capital budget's around $9 million this year. Or sorry, 60 million. There's $9 million required from the levy to cover that 60 million capital budget. And I don't think there's a lot else I wanted to mention just right now on this. Oh, there's replacing the 2 generators at the homes. That's, if I wrote it down right, that was 1.8 million alone for them 2 generators. We have 2 new ambulances on slate to get this year, or to budget for, and a new grader as well. So.
Nothing to add, but you did remind me of a question I wanted to ask Stacy. Stacy, we had discussed one way of trying to maybe offset some of the cost for the wing and patrol yard, and we talked about the construction loan of a debenture. I know at one time they used to be a lot cheaper for what you paid for the interest rate during the construction process. And then once you took out your actual debenture, then you paid whatever the rate was that the government was offering at that time. We just kind of went through that with the Brussels Arena. So I was questioning whether there was much of a difference, because Central Huron kind of agreed that there used to be a big difference, but the county staff didn't think there was much of a difference anymore.
For the construction loan, the interest rate is higher than, that's what you're asking. Right?
Yeah,
The construction loan interest rate is higher,
it used to be lower.
and then when it rolls to the venture, it goes down.
Wow, that's a change. At one time, it was almost half the price during the construction phase. Oh, yeah, okay. Wonder how often that changes. Are there any other boards, committees, meetings, or seminars that anybody wants to bring up this time? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just real quick, when I had a Blue Water Recycling meeting last week there, I just want to report everything's moving along fine with that. Brad, did you had a question that you asked me and I forgot?
Just in terms of the fees that Blue Water charges, most of it's to do with bins and
Replacements.
redelivering a bin and all that type of thing.
Okay,
Any changes with.
okay, and I didn't follow up on that yet, but I will. We're still waiting on some new trucks down there. Commodity prices are up to $140 a ton, so that's up. That's good. We usually budget on, I think, 125. Now it takes between 6 and 9 months to get a body on a new truck, so that's just a couple things. And Councillor Deal, you had asked me about some people not getting their account. They emailed Francis and he says that's Canada Post that did that.
Okay,
I did email you or just put the email over to you as well, so.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sharp.
It's just for awareness for council, at the Asabo Vehicle Conservation, we're in the process right now of hiring a new general manager. Being second vice, I'm part of the, HR committee and we interviewed, 6 people. We've made our decision, but we haven't reached out to the individual yet. We'll be doing that this Thursday to see if he takes the offer. So there'll be a brand new general manager there, just for awareness.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any requests by members at this time? Seeing none, are there any notices of motion? Any announcements? Oh, okay. Then I will go to bylaws. Can we get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Deal, second by Councilor Stefler. That be it hereby resolved that bylaw 5 of 2024, a bylaw to establish fees and charges for 2024 and to repeal bylaw 18 of 2012 and bylaw 5 of 2023, bylaw 38 of 2023 and 67 of 2023 be given first, second, third, and final readings signed by the mayor and the clerk and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? And motion carries. Mover and a seconder for bylaw 6. Councillor Deal, Councillor Morrison, that be it hereby resolved that bylaw 6 of 2024, a bylaw to temporarily close a portion of Sports Drive, Brussels, be given first, second, third, and final readings, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? And motion carries. And can I get a mover and a seconder to go into close, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor McGrath, that a closed meeting of council be held on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 at 6:52 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 for the purpose of the following matters. Adoption of the January 6th, 2024 closed session of council meeting minutes. Number 2 is 239, paragraph 2, subsection J, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, or financial information that belongs to the municipal.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, blog is a word now.
Yes.
That belongs to the municipality and has monetary or potential monetary value in relation to an agreement. And number 3 is 239, paragraph 2, subsection B, personal matters about identifiable individuals in relation to committees. And that the CAO Brad McRoberts, Director of Finance Stacy Gainer, and Clerk Jessica Rudy remain in closed session. All those in favor? And motion carries.